in your opinion, the better of these two players is who, and who do you think fits the Washington Wizards and what they want to do more so?
So it is, to me, and I know for some people they think there's the clear number one. I don't know that there is. To me, it is unbelievably close between those two players, AJ Dybantsa and Darryn Peterson. AJ Dybantsa, I think, is the safer of the two, right? I think his upside might be a little bit lower, but I think as far as safety, two-way ability, all of those things, I think AJ Dybantsa is probably the best player in the draft. He's my number one overall player. Darryn Peterson is very, very closely number two. Now, again, Darryn Peterson, if it hadn't been for, some of the motor concerns or the work ethic concerns that he faced over the last year, it's very possible that he could be squarely in the number one discussion. At least for me, I think AJ Dybantsa is the most well-rounded player in the draft. I think Darryn Peterson has the most offensive upside. I think he can be a bona fide between 25 and 30 point per game scorer in the NBA if all rolls his way. But I think if you're asking me right now, gun to my head, I think AJ Dybantsa right now is the number one player in the draft by a very, very slim margin.
Yeah, this is one of those drafts where, we've done plenty of these together. 2023 is the Wemby draft, and the 2022 draft where it's kind of similar in the sense of it was between Paolo and Chet Holmgren and Jabari Smith, where it's kind of this three-way race. In this case, it's two guys. I think the commissioner's about to get the draft going, but listen, I heard Kendrick Perkins not long before we went on here say that, his floor is Bradley Beal, his ceiling is Kobe Bryant. Talking about Darryn Peterson. It's like, I don't know if I go there. But listen, he's certainly a very, very gifted scorer. To sort of echo what you were saying, I do have concerns. If we're talking about, oh man, he's a little light, maybe could put on some muscle. Yeah, these NBA franchises, they've got the best medical teams in the world. So that's not going to be an issue. If it's a how bad do you want it question, that is a little bit of a concern. When you did go to Kansas, you went to this elite institution, and that was a problem there. A lot of this is going to depend on where he ends up. Washington is potentially on the way up. They've got Trae Young back. For now, they have Anthony Davis. And they've had a number of lottery picks in the last few years. But then from there, obviously, got Utah, Memphis. Where do you think the best fit for Darryn Peterson would be based on those teams in terms of his overall development? Because this, the work ethic concerns do, raise some eyebrows.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Utah is a good spot for him to go, just because it's a fairly quiet environment. It's not going to be a whole lot of high pressure, right? Like you're not following in Michael Jordan's footsteps if you end up in Chicago or, in Memphis. They've had a whole lot of issues going on. God forbid you're another one. Right. I think Utah is a fairly solid place. They're still developing. There's not a whole lot of like top tier talent with the Jazz right now. I think that would be a really good spot for him. I think Washington's a little crowded for a player like him. He's a shot hunter. So guys like Anthony Davis, guys like Trae Young, guys like Trey Johnson of that, ilk that they drafted last year. I mean, I think those guys kind of take away what he could be doing. So I think Utah's a really good spot for him to go. Plus I think he would look good in those like purple mountainy Utah jerseys.
He would, yeah.
Good for him.
He would for sure. Washington on the clock. So do you have a prediction? I'm going to say they go Dybantsa here again. I think the safer pick makes sense for them. And again, kind of like you mentioned with Peterson, like more from a stylistic standpoint, Dybantsa fits more what they want to do. Would that be your prediction right now as we got about 4 minutes to go?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think AJ Dybantsa is a he's a combo forward kind of player. You can kind of play him 3-4. He gives me at the peak of his game, he's very Jaylen Brown. Like that's kind of the player that he is. He's a little bit bigger than Jaylen Brown is, but I think
very
it's
athletic.
More of the right. He's a good athlete. He has a natural knack for scoring. Again, he has more of that two-way upside. His body is pretty NBA ready. He looks the part. Like I said, you can kind of play him at the 3 or the 4. He's good with his feet. I think there's a lot to like about AJ Dybantsa. I think like I said, he's the most well-rounded. I think he's the safest player in the draft. And I think as far as players that you would draft this high, I think he fits their roster the best, right? Like you're not like Cam Boozer is more of a big man. He's going to be fighting for minutes with Anthony Davis and Alex Sarr, right? Darryn Peterson is more of a guard where, again, Trey Johnson, Trae Young, this is something, that he would have to fight for minutes for. You could kind of slide AJ Dybantsa right in the middle of those two things, kind of fit him in as a really nice combo wing player. And I think that would really work out for them. So I think AJ Dybantsa right now should be the pick. That's what I think will happen here. That's been all the talk. So yeah, I think it's AJ Dybantsa right now.
Yeah, given how early we are in this process in this stream. So again, look at some of the best players on the board. The guy that to me is the most fascinating player in this draft, just because what I saw from him in college and I absolutely loved him, is Darius Acuff. I think very, very talented scorer, very good, good guard. But there have been some of the similar concerns regarding him as there is with Darryn Peterson. Do you think there's a chance? I read a report suggesting that he could maybe slip a little bit. I think ESPN right now has about the sixth best player on the board. I'd probably agree with that.
He's my 5. He's my 5th.
He's your 5.
So
okay.
He's my 5. Yeah. Outside of the top 4, which I think are pretty set in stone, right? I mean, I think that the top 4 consensus in this draft are pretty, I'm no different than everybody else. For me, it's Dybantsa, Darryn Peterson 2. I have Caleb Wilson ahead of Cam Boozer. But I think it's Dybantsa, Peterson, Caleb Wilson, Cam Boozer, and then Darius Acuff is my number 5 overall player. He has such a crazy cool skill set that I think could be so fun in the NBA. Again, if there's motor concerns, I understand it, but I can't imagine he falls out of the top 10. I mean, he's just such a talented player. I cannot imagine that he falls out of the top 10.
No, he absolutely lit it up in March. It appears the pick is in for the Washington Wizards, so we'll see who it is. I imagine it's between one of the top 2. I actually suggested on my show today that is there a possibility, if the concerns about Peterson are louder than we maybe think, is there the chance that maybe Dybantsa goes number 1, Cam Boozer goes 2, and the Jazz move on from Walker Kessler? Is that potentially the board? Because I think
certainly that's possible.
Yeah,
certainly possible. I think here's the thing: like Cam Boozer, I think is a little bit small to play center in the NBA. Right. Like he's a bit of an undersized big. But again, he needs to kind of go to a place where he can kind of serve as an offensive hub, right? He's such a good passer. He's a great feel for the game. And he's sort of a secondary scorer, right? He's not somebody that needs to score, that needs to have the ball in his hands all the time. So if he can go to a place that kind of fits that skill set, then that's great. So for a place like Utah, I don't know that makes sense for them. So again, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So let's see. In terms of the draft order, so we've got, I can pull this up here. So we got the Wizards on the clock first, followed by the Utah Jazz, Memphis Grizzlies, then the Bulls and the Clippers. How about the Clippers, by the way, that trade they made regarding Ivica Zubac and just absolutely fleecing the Pacers?
The Clippers, not only do the Clippers have a pick in general, but the Clippers have a top 5 pick.
Yeah. Two lottery picks, mind you, or not 2 lottery picks. Well, that one pick's going to OKC, obviously from the from the Paul George trade, which is still reaping benefits for Oklahoma City. So yeah, that could have been the ultimate steal for Indiana. You get Zubac and you get the 5th pick, but that was a huge miss on their part. Which again, a draft as deep as this, like you're seeing teams be a little bit more conservative with those picks. I think honestly, Mike, it's why you saw. I think it's in large part why the Shams Charania report about, hey, the Bucks want to get this Giannis trade done as soon as possible because they wanted an extra pick tonight. Right. And so like I think that had something to do with it. So we'll see how it plays out. We're waiting for Commissioner Silver to make his way to the podium. I think it's probably Dybantsa, but again, Peterson is certainly the guy who has more upside. I'm still think it's very much on the board that Boozer goes number 2 to Utah. But again, we'll see how this plays out. We're in the early stage of this.
So I want to talk about one guy really quick before.
Can I cut you off because he's about to announce the pick?
Yep.
Here it is. AJ Dybantsa. They go to AJ Dybantsa number 1.
Yep. Yeah. AJ Dybantsa, I think, was I think he was the consensus most of the time. Again, he is such a talented player. Like I said, 2-way upside. I think he's going to be somebody that could turn into a plus defender. He isn't a plus defender yet, but somebody that could turn into a plus defender. Great with his feet. Has such high confidence. I mean, if you've ever heard AJ Dybantsa talk, I mean, he thinks he is Michael Jordan. Like
Yeah.
AJ Dybantsa thinks he is the man. So, and there's a part of that I think some people might get turned off by, but there's also people that say, listen, this kid's got to have confidence, and he certainly does. And he's going to a place where that confidence is kind of well placed. So, you go to a place like Washington, who has been so down in the gutter for so long, and then they make two big moves last year with Anthony Davis and Trae Young getting two all-star caliber players, and now they get the number one pick, and now you're starting to see sort of a turnaround. I mean, could this be the move that sort of turns Washington around as a potential playoff team going into next year? I think you could see him have such a big role for them. They're going to give him the ball a lot, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also going to be a lot of low-pressure situations, right? He's just a gifted scorer. He's so smart with the ball in his hands. He's so good with his feet, Bryson. I mean, that's really the thing that impresses me about him the most. Not only does he look the part, but the way he maneuvers his body, the way that he does things is just unlike what we see from young players. He's just a smart, aware, body-controlled type of player. So I think you're going to see him get a lot of run. Like I said, he was the number one overall player in the draft for me. Again, reminds me a lot of Jaylen Brown. He's a little bigger than Jaylen Brown, but I think the Wizards are going to like him a lot as a potential real difference-making two-way wing player that they can do a lot with.
And guys like him are who this league is built around in terms of guys that can hit right off the bat. Like you said, he's got an NBA body, very athletic. The Jaylen Brown comparison, not only is he bigger than Jaylen now, but Jaylen was like most guys, kind of skinny when he came to the league out of Cal. And so to get somebody this size, this physically, mature, and again, that mentality, like you mentioned, is going to be huge. So now the Utah Jazz on the clock, and this is where the draft kind of gets interesting because, as you said, most people generally agreed that Dybantsa was going to go number one. Now Utah on the clock. Again, I'm going on a limb and saying Boozer goes 2. Do you think it's likely Peterson, or do you think they decide to pull the trigger on Boozer?
I do. I think it's likely Peterson. I mean, I think it should be Peterson. Like, okay. I know the concern about all of the, did he really want to play? I get all of that. Okay. But he was also coming off an injury, right? When you hear him talk about it, he's like, listen, guys, I love playing basketball, but I was hurt. You know what I mean? I genuinely was hurt. I don't know why this is such a problem. So I understand the concern about it. And I know we put these guys under such a microscope going into it, but I just think Darryn Peterson is such a dynamic, gifted scorer. He just is. He's such a, his comparison for me is Devin Booker. He's just a
I definitely see that.
Bona fide bucket getting guy. He's just crazy. He is such a good scorer. His shooting stroke is so smooth. Now, do I think he's going to be the best defender in the world? Probably not. But I think he could give you 30 a game. I think his upside could be somebody that's one of the top flight scorers in the NBA. So, and look, I think that there's upside with him too, as far as Bill Self played him very much off the ball this past year at Kansas. Very, very much off the ball. I think there might be a little bit in there as a passer, a facilitator. I think there might be a little bit more in there as well, to where he could even make his teammates better. So like I said, Bryson, I really thought this AJ Dybantsa, Darryn Peterson discussion was really, really, really close. Really close. I just felt that Dybantsa was a little safer, but I think Peterson might have the most upside in the draft. I think that kid could really, his ceiling, I think, is the highest.
I generally agree. Again, he's somebody who you mentioned could probably give you 30 a night if he can hit his ceiling. Listen, Utah's been starved for that, obviously, for the last few years, ever since they traded Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. They've been in this rebuild. This is the type of player, again, should he be able to hit that ceiling to be able to, kind of lead them in the future. But again, Utah generally has been regarded as a well-run franchise. We'll see if, again, that they can, show themselves and get it done with this one. Got a few comments here, it looks like. Kevin C says, can't go wrong with either one. I think he generally agrees with you. John, fan perspective, he says, let's go Bulls. They got a couple more picks, so Caleb Wilson potentially to Chicago, I think, is a real possibility, depending on what happens with Boozer. Peterson's definitely going to be gone by 4, no question. So
Chicago's
it'll
got 2 picks in the top 15, by the way. They
do.
They've got some room to get things done.
And they just added Nick Claxton in that Julius Randle trade as well. So, they're building some nice talent there. It looks like, by the way, we missed out on the chimes on the Dybantsa pick, so I apologize to the audience for that. We've got him back for here. Roll the chimes. Here's the pick. Darryn Peterson goes number 2.
Yeah, I think that's the right move. I just do. I think he's the better player. Here's the thing, Bryson. I think, Darryn Peterson for me is a clear step above Caleb Wilson and Cam Boozer. I just think that's the thing that we have to recognize. I think AJ Dybantsa and Darryn Peterson are very close at the top of the class, but I think they're a true step ahead of the other two. I just think they're better players than Caleb Wilson and Cam Boozer. I just do. And I think if they were to go in another direction, they would have been picking down. They genuinely would not have been taking the best player on the board. I think Darryn Peterson is just a superstar in the making if the motor is there and things break his way developmentally. He's just such a talented scorer. Like I keep saying, I think he's a 30-plus point per game guy.
30 plus, okay.
I'm telling you, Brian, if you see how he creates his own shot, and not even the fact that he creates his own shot, he has such a knack for swiftly moving within the offense to just find the open space, even when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. He's just such a smart offensive player that, even if the ball isn't in his hands, he can still create opportunities for himself. That's rare for a young player.
Yes.
That really is. So there's something
especially for a scorer, Mike, especially for a natural scorer.
Right. And like I said, Darryn Peterson is one of those guys who can hit every shot on the floor. He's not a super duper athlete. He's not going to win any dunk contests, but he's good enough to get by in the sense that, he's not going to get bullied. He's not going to get knocked on his ass every other possession.
Sure.
I think this is a really special type of scorer